Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unholy Moles interviews. I got Black Sofa with me today. Would you like to say hi and tell them a little bit about how you came up with your name?
Hi, Unholy Mole. Thank you for having me on your channel. The thing is, when I first started my channel, I was filming myself sat in my sitting room on on my black sofa, and I was thinking, what what name could I give my channel? And I thought, well, I'm always sat on this black sofa, so that's what I'll call myself. I'll call, I mean, that's what I'll call my channel. I mean, I'll call my channel Black Sofa, and so it kind of stuck, and it's become my name as well. People who I interact with, here on YouTube and on Twitter, call me Black Sofa. It's kind of, it's kind of stuck.
Yeah, Mole's been my nickname since I was like 13, so I don't really mind that. I mean, it literally. I mean, I didn't choose my name. My name. I mean, I added Unholy, but I've been calling myself that for years as like a joke, like because I've never been religious. So like I always used to say, I'm the Unholy Mole. So actually, that I was in a band and we played like skanky blues and like one of the band members, his name was Sheriff Skank, and then we had the Reverend, I can't remember what it was. It was like a play on Doc Holliday, and then of course me, the Unholy Mole, and our drummer wouldn't play along, so he thought it was silly. But I mean, it was we were young and
Yeah.
trying to learn about ourselves. So you were raised in a religious household, correct? How long ago have did you or well, first of all, what religion were you raised in?
Um. Well, I will. It's kind of complicated because when we were growing up, me and my siblings, I think for want of a better term, I think my parents were agnostic theists, I suppose you could say. Um, they, I think they believed in God, but they didn't go to church. They went to church for Christmas and Easter, and that was about it. But they sent us kids to church every Sunday, so that they could have some quality time together, I guess. Um,
And I
and
just got. Oh, go ahead and
and
finish your story.
the church that they sent us to was the Methodist church.
Oh,
So I
really?
guess,
It
yeah. So I
wasn't
guess
Anglican. That's odd. I just I don't know why I assumed that the predominant religion in the UK is would be Anglican. Is that the predominant religion in the UK? Is Anglican?
oh, it is, yeah. But
Oh, okay.
it, the Methodist church is there, and there's the Baptist church, and there's other denominations as well.
Yeah, there's
Many
pretty
other.
much any denomination that you'd find in America in the UK, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah, we're much closer than people think that. I mean, we're like cousins. I almost call us like cousins, long lost cousins. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
we were the same people at one time. I mean, so
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it
we're
just so
long lost.
happened. So go on.
Oh no, I was just saying. I was like, just we're long lost cousins. That's all I was saying. But go on,
Yeah,
finish your religious story.
it just so happened that the Methodist church was the nearest one to us. So it was it made sense for us to go to that one. Um, even though my mum had me christened in the Church of England. Um, so but yeah, so there you have it. I was raised up in the Methodist church.
Huh, so that
growing
is
up.
strange. Now in the UK, do they still have, even in public schools, I believe, in private schools, both have religious studies, even if the church, even if the school isn't religiously affiliated. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And that I would take it that's Anglican. They teach Anglican studies.
Um, not specific. No, I think it's just the Church of England schools that specifically
Teach Anglican.
center on Anglican and the Anglican side of things. But uh, yeah, most schools teach um, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, um, um, and most of the other world religions as well.
The major world religions are they? Is that what is the point in that? Do you think? Do you think it's trying to teach children about other cultures while they're young?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And uh, Brit, Great Britain is um, a Christian nation, but only in the sense that our Queen is a Christian and she is the head of the Church of England.
Right. Yeah,
And
I'm
so,
I'm an Anglophile, so I know a lot about British history. So yeah, I get where you're coming from.
all right. So that is why it started off that Christianity was a compulsory subject in school. But I think since then, because we've become more multi-ethnic, multinational country, it's become compulsory for the other religions and faiths to be taught alongside Christianity now.
Huh. So what made you or let's say what age did you start having doubts about religion?
Well, it's funny. I mean, as I said, I grew up going to Sunday school, and I consider myself a Christian, and but then I think when I started primary school, secondary school, or high school, I guess
Yeah.
it's called in the States.
Yeah.
Um, I grew. I guess I grew out of that, and I consider myself an atheist. Um, but I wasn't, an outspoken atheist. I just didn't want anything to do with God or religion.
Right.
And
Well,
no, I just. But then that all changed at the age of 25, when I a friend of mine who was a Christian invited me to do something called an alpha course. I don't know if you've heard of that.
no, I have an alpha course, like as an alpha and omega, like beginning alpha, like
Yeah,
the Greek alphabet alpha.
yeah.
Okay. No, I've never heard of
Nicky
that.
Nicky Gumbel is, he's the mastermind behind it. If you Google him, um, you know, you'll, you'll get to learn you know, about him and how the Alpha course got started and all the rest of it. And basically, it's a 13-week course. It's free. You start off with a free meal, and you get to meet a lot of interesting people. Um, and you get to watch a video, um, um, which is a short, message. Um, and it's a different topic each week. I think the first one is who is Jesus. I think the second one was why was he crucified? And then there's one about healing. There's one of why is there suffering? And so and then after the message, you split into groups and you get to discuss what you've just learnt, and you get to ask questions. And I was persuaded. I was persuaded by uh, by these messages. By the reasoning. Um, it kind of made sense to me at the time,
Right.
and
Okay.
of course, a major theme throughout the Alpha Course was that we all have a God-shaped hole in our hearts, and the only way you may try to fill that hole with drugs, with alcohol, with gambling, with sex, but the only way you can fill that hole is with Jesus. And I totally bought into that because at the time I felt empty inside,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I gave my life to Christ. I became a committed Christian. I and for the first time in my life, I felt that I was truly truly a Christian, whereas before I was just doing it because
Your
it was
parents made you.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, was this what denomination was this Alpha Course?
Um, it, it's the Anglican denomination.
Okay, and now the hole in the God-sized hole, that is something I've heard when I first started. I'm a recovered heroin addict, and the first time I ever went to a 12-step meeting, they said they didn't call it. I mean, they call it a God-sized hole, but like I always refused. I'm like, I'm an atheist. No, I'm an atheist. No, I'm an atheist. You're
Mm.
not going to convince me of anything else. And so, but they use spirituality, or that's a spiritual hole you have in you, and you need to learn to fill it with different things. Not even I could buy that, because I mean, when you're an addict like you are, I mean, you're not exactly the nicest person. You lie, you cheat, still, that kind of thing. So you do have to learn to, I don't know, love yourself, I guess, before you can stay clean. But
Yeah,
God had nothing to do with it. I mean, to them it does, but to me it had nothing to do with it. It was the camaraderie. Now, at that time, I know you don't mind speaking about your, I mean, your videos have a lot about your mental health issues you went through and stuff. So that's what made you a Christian. Like you were going through some pretty dark times, and you were looking for something to hold on to, pretty much, right? And that's why it made sense to you at that time.
yeah, that's it. I mean, we were. I think we were talking briefly before we went live, and I said that when I was 21, I took an overdose of painkillers, and I tried to end my life. But I'm still here to tell the tale.
Right.
So obviously, I failed.
Thank you,
Um,
by the way, that you failed. I'm glad.
yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad you're here as well, and
Thank you.
I'm glad that many others, survived. Um, but I said to myself that if my life doesn't radically change by the time I'm 25, I'll do it properly. I'll make sure I do it properly. And it was at the age of 25 that I met this friend who was a Christian, and yeah, she's the one who suggested that I do the Alpha course. And so, as far as I was concerned, that was a sign from God, that he didn't want me to
Right.
kill myself.
I get it. I mean, I get where you're coming from with that. I mean, humans like to see connections where there is none, but I mean, it's totally human nature. I mean, I've done it myself, so and no shame in that. But anyway, so you went to this Alpha course,
Yeah,
and how long were you a Christian after the Alpha course?
I was a Christian for about 15 years.
So from the time you were 25 until 40ish.
Late 30s, you know,
Late
38,
30s.
38, 39, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And so what finally what was the catalyst that made you think, oh, this is all a bunch of bullshit?
Well, um, I, it's kind of a long story, but to kind of try to cut it short, um, I I attended Bible college, and be- because you know, the thing is, when I first became a Christian, I attended the Anglican church, but it wasn't spiritual enough for me, and so I found this Assemblies of God church, and they were really spiritual, and thought, yes, this is the church for me, and after being going there for a couple of years, people started saying, you know, Mike, I think you should. I think God is calling you into full-time ministry. I think you should go to Bible college. And I was working for um, Job Center Plus at the time, and you know, that's where people go to get their benefits. And a lot, you know, a few of us were getting laid off, you know, made redundant, and I thought, I'm going to be next. Um, and so I thought I saw it as a window of opportunity to to go to Bible college, and I, I chose the Assemblies of God Bible College, thinking, you know, it'll be fine. You know, they'll just, teach me what I already believe, and I'll get my degree, and I'll go back to Salisbury and become a pastor. Uh, but it wasn't like that at all. You know, I got challenged. You know, we all did. We learned how to properly interpret the Bible, and how to read the Bible critically, and we got taught that, you know, for example, that John's Gospel was not necessarily written by John. It wasn't supposed to be taken historically. It was just a theological gospel, and we got taught that there's a difference between the historical Jesus and the Christ of faith, and so seeds of doubt were being sown into my mind. But and also, you know, in my own, you know, Bible study, you know, when I reading the Old Testament, I couldn't relate to Yahweh at all. I couldn't, and I couldn't reconcile Yahweh, the Yahweh of the Old Testament, um, with the Jesus of the New Testament.
Right.
But
That go ahead.
but I swept all of this stuff under the carpet. But but what happened was, what I wasn't prepared for was a serious mental health crisis. I mean, I had, you know, been suffering from depression on and off all of my adult life, and to the point where I was suicidal. But throughout my Christian life, I wasn't suicide. I was never suicidal, and I didn't think I was ever going to be suicidal again, because I had the joy of the Lord.
Right.
And but then I found myself feeling suicidal again, and I prayed and prayed, and I just got silence. And I thought something is terribly wrong here, because I always believe that God will never test you beyond what you can bear. And
Right.
I thought, you know, here I am being tested beyond what I can bear. I feel like topping myself. And I spoke to my Christian friends about this, and they said, Mike, you know, this is just the depression talking. You know, just ignore these questions. ignore the bad things in the Bible that that you're concerned about. Just focus on the good stuff. And I thought that that's not helpful at all.
Right. Now, were these Christian friends fellow like seminary students?
No, no, this is
Oh,
this is
okay.
after I had
Okay.
graduated,
Because
and
I think it makes it easier for a lot of Christians. I don't think many of them have actually read the Bible, so
mm,
they can reconcile the jealous, vengeful, angry God of the Old Testament with the loving, peaceful God of the New Testament. I mean, that when I read, I mean, I remember reading the Bible and I was like, man, I'm like, God was, I mean, pretty much an asshole when
yeah,
I mean, the Old Testament, he was nothing but an asshole. I mean, he was constantly testing people. He was like a jealous lover, like almost like, oh, you
exactly,
love
yeah,
someone else, well, prove it to me that you love me by doing this or this or this. I
yeah,
guess that's the best way to put it. That like God of the Old Testament's like a jealous lover.
yeah, yeah, and an abusive lover as
Mm,
well. If you go after other people, I'm going to fuck you up.
right,
Basically, that's basically where he says frequently,
right,
um, in not so many words. Um,
right,
but at first, I stopped reading the Old Testament. I thought I don't want anything to do with Yahweh anymore. I'll just read the New Testament. But then I came to the conclusion that Jesus is just as bad as Yahweh because God, God is a Trinity, and God the Son, Jesus, and God the Father, Yahweh, are the same thing.
yeah, exactly.
So
They're one and the
when
same.
so when God the Father was committing genocide, Jesus did nothing to
Or he was part of it.
yeah, he was part of it. He was there, and you think that the merciful, loving Jesus would say, "Hang on a minute, Father. Let's not wipe out this entire nation. Let's show them some grace. Some
Right, right,
some forgiveness." No, there's none of that. So I reasoned in the end that since Jesus is God, he's just as bad as Yahweh, and I didn't
right.
want anything to do with him either. And I started doing my own research, and I discovered Richard Carrier. Have you heard of him?
I love Richard Carrier.
Yeah, and a lot of what he said about the mythical, Jesus being a mythical figure,
Uh-huh.
made a lot of sense. I didn't agree with it, and don't agree with his ultimate conclusion that Jesus has never existed historically. I believe that there was this historical character called Jesus, but I don't believe that what his followers wrote about him is true.
Right. I think they I guess like what's the word I'm looking for? They sensationalized him to make him into more than a human teacher.
Yeah,
If there was a Jesus, I'm still kind of on the fence, but I do like a lot of the things Richard Carrier says about how Jesus is a symbolic. I mean, well, the Savior Jesus.
yeah,
Let me rephrase that. How the Savior Jesus is just a symbolization of the temple. Like where he went and killed the fig tree, and what is that? Mark? Is that Mark? I think it's Mark, isn't it? Is where he
I think
killed the
so.
fig tree.
Yeah,
But I mean, if you look at the whole story of Mark, I mean, it does kind of it's written in kind of a circular fashion to where like each story in there told is almost a way to say you don't need Jesus was a way of not needing the temple to worship. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And then I
Yeah.
think that the whole sacrificing Jesus was symbolic of, you know, the yearly ritual of the Jews killing the lamb. And well, since human blood's more powerful, you know, blood magic. That's what Jews believed was blood magic.
Yeah.
That you know, that was symbolic of, okay, well, we don't have to kill a sheep at all anymore. So we don't have to do anything with the temple anymore, you know. So that's, I think, how a human became a deity. I
Yeah.
almost like I think that's you know, the conclusion I've come to is, how could a human become a deity? That's how a human could become a deity.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I see it is that there may have been a charismatic, apocalyptic rabbi called Jesus who genuinely believed that he was the Messiah, you know, the anointed one of God, and his followers genuinely believed that too. But then it went pear-shaped. He ended up nailed to a cross. And so they had to, you know, his followers had to rethink their theology, rethink their, you know, who, you know, what the Messiah is.
Right,
And so they came up with the theology that, well, he's going to come back someday, and he'll fulfill everything that the Messiah is supposed to fulfill when he returns. And so these stories got circulated. I mean, you know, this is before the Gutenberg press, you know, was invented. You know,
right,
so they just relied on word of mouth, and
right.
you know, and Richard Carrier gives a good analogy of Roswell. You know, it started off as just um, you know, you know, this foil weather balloon, you know, that, you know, was found, and then you know, rumors got started about alien autopsies, and you know, 30 years later, there's huge conspiracy that's, you know, um that's been invented, you know, about aliens crash landing and the Area 51 and all the rest of it. And this is in the age of information technology. How much
Hmm.
more 2,000 years ago, you know, when stories were, you know, were just transmitted orally, you know, from person to person, you know, myths and legends be built up around this man Jesus?
Right, right. Well, it's like the telephone game that's gotten way out of control, kind of thing, you know. Like that's why I'm not sure if that's the same thing with me, with you, is like I believe there's a kernel of truth in every story. I mean,
Mm.
there's at least a small kernel of truth. So Jesus, maybe he was a real man. He was a teacher, like you said. There were so many different there were so many different apocalyptic teachers at that time, and different kinds of Judaism, uh, you know, starting up different sects, and Christianity is just the one that took hold. You know, I mean, that it was by far not the only sect of Judaism at that time.
Yeah.
So, so with your theological training, then, um, like, you read the Bible critically, which a lot of atheists do, and came to the conclusion that this is a bunch of shit, pretty much. Then, right?
Yeah. But it, but it was what was the real catalyst, as you put it, was as I said, the mental health crisis. I could, you know, and feeling suicidal, and I found that I couldn't ignore these questions that I had anymore, and I really believe that many Christians, many church going, church going Christian blog, you know, Joe blog Christian um, they read the Bible through the lenses of their doctrine, of Christian doctrine, or that they've that they've grown up with.
Right.
And the way I see it is that this mental health crisis knocks those lenses off. If you and
Yes, that makes sense.
I started reading the Bible without them, and I saw it for what it was, for what it was, a collection of parables, stories, fables, poems, written by flawed human beings.
Right. Exactly.
And I and I woke, and at the time, every morning I would pray, Lord, I I please help me. I don't. Please help me to believe. And but one morning I woke up think, thinking, you're not there, are you, Lord? You never were. And that was it. And I've been an atheist ever since then.
Right. So when you were a Christian, did you ever pray and then like what you prayed for came true, so that gave you that that solidified, oh yeah, this is real for you?
Well, some of my prayers came true.
Right.
Some of my
Well,
prayers.
that's just the law of odds. I mean, of course, I mean,
Mm,
if you what that old saying, 500 monkeys and 500 typewriters, eventually something's going to come out of it. So
yeah. Um, who I can't remember who it was, but someone said, prayer is like gambling. We never talk about the losses.
right, right, exactly.
But the way I rationalize things, and I guess many other Christians rationalize these, this in the same way, is that God sometimes says no, and sometimes He says wait. The answer is wait. So he always answers your prayer. It's not always the answer you want. So it's not always yes.
Right,
Sometimes it's no, and sometimes it's wait for an indefinite period of time. And
right.
so I rationalized it that way.
Yeah, a
And
lot. I think a lot of Christians do that actually. And then if they do pray for, I mean, most Christians are taught not to pray for themselves, to pray for other people, or not to pray for like like material things, right?
mm,
I mean, I've never really been a Christian, so I'm kind of asking. I mean, that's the way I understand it. I mean, if you could pray for like material things, that'd almost be like having a genie.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
but no, but I get a kick out of like I've been in a 12-step program, and I get a kick out of like how people are like, oh, I stayed sober today because I get on my knees every morning and I pray to God to keep me sober that day. I'm like, you know what? So your God's magic is what? Only worth 24 hours, and then you got to like renew the spell, or what? Do you have to
yeah.
they hate it when I talk, when I talk like that, but I mean, it's
It's like a fairy
it's
godmother. It's like a
right,
fairy
right.
godmother, isn't it? The spell will break at midnight. So the next morning you've got to pray again. You say the magic incantation again, and
Yeah,
and the
the
spell
magic wears off.
will.
Sorry about your luck, Cinderella.
Yeah.
So
Um,
what so that's what turns you into an atheist. What how did so is that when you started watching YouTube and looking for atheist videos then? I mean, how did that come about?
well, um, I when I started having serious doubts, I looked up atheists first on Twitter, and at first I wanted to reach out to them
Mm-hmm.
because I was arrogant enough to think that I could win them over to Christianity. But I found that when I read their tweets, when I read their objections to to religion and to faith, and I would rehearse an answer in my mind, and I'd think, no, that's not going to cut it.
Right.
Then I, because I'm quite logical in my thinking,
Right.
and I knew exactly how they would answer, and I thought, no, so if I say ABC, then they'll come back with XYZ.
Right.
There's no point, and there's no point.
Right. Just like
So I didn't. So I never went ahead with, with engaging in debate
with
with
your
them.
try to converting people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure everybody's heard this story before, but I mean, you guys know my girlfriend is a devout Christian, and her dad's a pastor.
Yeah.
Now, I think that Christians that know that you are a real honest to God atheist, I say honest to God. I mean, isn't it odd how often we use that word and we're all atheists? I mean, I hear every one of us use that word all the time, Jesus or God, but it's not the same for us as it is for Christians. But I'm getting off track. But
Yeah.
I think that they know that they're not going to convert us, just like
Mm,
we're not going to convert them. I mean, that's why they think of our atheism as a religion or a belief when it's a lack of belief in God is what it really is. I mean, but I can almost understand why they call it a religion, because I'm not, you're not going to convince me. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but my evidence is all around me. Your evidence is a book, and you try to use that book to prove that book, and that fucking drives me nuts. That drives
yeah.
me crazy when
Yeah.
Christians try to use the Bible to prove the Bible. I'm like, you can't do that. I'm like, that doesn't work, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
that'd be like me saying, oh yeah, I know how to fly an airplane because I said I know how to fly an airplane. Or
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
would, you know, that I mean, that would not convince someone if we were going to fly an airplane, right? Would you want me to pilot it just because I said I knew how to do it?
Yeah.
Or I seen it on TV once?
Yeah. I mean, it'd be like, me saying, I can prove to you that Princess Bubblegum exists, because I've got this book, called Adventure Time, and which is all about her adventures with Finn, the human,
Uh-huh.
and the dog, and it's all there. So these people must be real, because it's in this book, and they've even got their own TV. They're even on TV. So
Oh, yeah. So of course that's real then, man. Of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same
You
sort
know,
of reason.
when you were telling me about the Alpha Group, right? I told you I was an Anglophile, so what you explained to me kind of reminds me of a Midsummer Murder show. One of the Midsummer Murder episodes I've seen, uh,
Oh yeah,
where
yeah,
where Jones has to go undercover into this like cult type thing, and like I don't know, that it just kind of reminded me of that.
yeah, yeah. It was a bit like that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
do you know what episode I'm talking about?
I think I've seen that one. Yeah,
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 that's a great. I don't know why, but British television is so much more pleasing to me than American television. For one, it seems more realistic because I'm not saying there's not good looking people on there. There's good looking people, but there's realistic looking people. Like if you watch an American television show, like everybody's gorgeous. The fucking janitor, the bartender, the waitress. No matter who it
yeah,
is, it's like they're drop dead gorgeous. and that's not fucking very realistic. That, and I'm a murder mystery lover, and no one does murder mysteries like the Brits. No one. I mean,
Oh,
Agatha Christie, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I mean, G.K. Chesterton. I mean, do I need to go on? There's
yeah.
so many good authors. I mean, good murder mystery authors from the UK. It's you guys definitely got that one in the bag. You have we have nothing on you when it comes to that.
Um, well, thanks. Are you a fan of Sherlock then?
Huge fan, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
I've both read and watched I even watched the Basil Rathbone ones, and they're old as shit. But I really like Jeremy Brett. I like Jeremy Brett as Sherlock. I think he did a pretty good job of playing Sherlock to how Sherlock would act.
yeah.
You know, and I like how they didn't like hide the drug use and shit. Like they showed the real Sherlock.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool.
yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Benedict Cumberbatch.
You
As,
know, I'm starting to warm up to it, but it was real hard at first. I don't know if it was the modernization because I really enjoy it for some reason. I mean, I love British history. I'm not joking. I love British history. I could probably pass a British history test better than a Brit could because I just love British history. I mean, I could tell you about even before the Norman conquest, but
yeah.
like just the modernization. There's something about the Victorian era that I love. I just love the Victorian era,
Oh,
and
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I don't know that I think that's part of the appeal of Sherlock is because I mean there was no I mean back then it was eyewitnesses only or who was the most likely suspect. Oh, you were running away from a crime. You're guilty. You're getting hung. I mean, I
yeah,
like how I like how Sherlock brought science into um, you know, forensics or whatnot. So
yeah.
it took a little while for me to warm up to it. And Benedict Cumberbatch does play a pretty good sociopath, though. He does.
He
He's
does. Yeah.
got that shit down, man. Another good show I like from him is what is it called? Where he's like a young aristocrat, and he's got to travel to Australia, and he's on a ship, so he has to like mix with the other passengers, and he learns about morality and lower classes. I can't remember what the hell that's called. Into the Earth, maybe. I think that might have been called.
I don't think I don't think I'm familiar with that one.
It's a good show. It's on Netflix. I don't know if UK Netflix is different than our Netflix or not, but it is on Netflix in America anyway.
I don't have Netflix,
Oh,
so I wouldn't know.
look on YouTube. You might be able to find it. Into the Earth. I don't know
Okay.
though. The BBC's pretty tight assed when it comes to they block shit pretty quickly if it's on
Oh yeah,
YouTube.
they do. Yeah.
Oh, really quickly because I'm like I said, I like British television, like Faulty Towers, Monty Python. I just like British television. Dad's Army, Hello, Hello. That's got to be one of the funniest fucking series I've ever seen in my life, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I don't know. I've always kind of had a dry sense of humor though, so
But but having said that, I really like uh the well, I can't remember what it's called, but there was a series based on the Tess Gerritsen novels. Um, what was it called? But I was really hooked on that. Um, with there was two women, a cop and
is it
um,
is it an American television show?
yeah, it is, yeah, and
Huh.
that was really good. And Monk, I thought Monk was
Oh,
really,
Monk. There are some American procedurals I like too, like Bones. Bones is awesome. I've always liked Bones. I do. It's just fast paced. Criminal Minds is good.
yeah,
Monk is fucking hilarious. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
I would love to see a detective like that in real life. That'd be hilarious.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, there's some good American procedurals too. I'm not saying I mean, but I just the classics though they just like they I don't know. There's a lot of good English writers. Um, I'm a voracious reader though, so like the other day, I took my friend to a storage unit, and it was storage unit number 42, and something weird happened, and I said it was like a Douglas Adams type joke, and like of course I'm the only one that thought it was funny because that's nerdy as hell, and no one's gonna get the reference in the
Yeah,
first place, you know. So, but I just thought that was kind of funny.
yeah. Um,
So, how did you? So, what did you start watching when you found YouTube? I mean, who were some of the early atheists that inspired you? Who were some of the first ones you found? I should say.
um, Godless Mom. Um,
Oh, God, was it Courtney Hurd? She's awesome.
yeah,
I like Courtney. She's really cool.
yeah, yeah. She's brilliant, and you know, I found her really funny, but also um, very reasonable. I couldn't fault her, her reasoning. And who else? Um, there, she's not around. She doesn't seem to be around anymore. But there used to be this woman called Atheistic Minority. She was brilliant.
I don't think
Um,
I've ever heard of her.
oh, right, but she's gone off the grid now. I don't think she's done anything either on Twitter or YouTube for a few years now.
Oh wow!
Um, and then Logic, um, he, I discovered Logic and started watching his channel avidly because I, I think Logic was the first YouTuber I saw who, um, excuse me, yeah, Logic was the first YouTuber I saw who wore a mask.
Right?
So it was new to me. It was something different,
Yeah,
and I really loved his sense of humor and his his wit and his satire and
yeah.
but also he, his logic. he's not
Yeah,
he's not for nothing
I
but
was going to say that about Logic is if he really thinks out his arguments very very well. I mean, I nothing's bulletproof, but that's as close as it comes to it. I mean, he thinks about it from every angle.
yeah,
He really thinks outside the box when it comes to the things he's thinking up. He was one of my first two. Logic just blew me away. I binge watched him for I bet you like 3 days straight, dude. And he has a lot of videos. I mean,
yes,
so I mean that's there's a good few days worth of I watched all of the Hi I'm Kent Hovens
yeah.
and who was that silly dentist bastard that like was an auto mechanic? Do you remember him?
Oh
That
yeah,
Logic. Oh, yeah, I can't remember him, but he fucking cracked me up pretty. He made me laugh quite a bit.
yeah,
Armor Skeptic was another one that I was first drawn to, but then he got with June and something crazy happened. I don't know. I think when people get a girlfriend, they get weird, and like
yeah,
when you first fall in love, that that takes that takes all of your mind. I mean, all of your energy, all of your mind. You can't concentrate on anything else, and that's I think when his video content started going downhill. It's starting to pick back up now, though. His
yeah.
last few videos have been pretty fucking funny.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah, um, yeah. So I found Greg after shortly after Logic and Iseth Original, of course.
Issa's awesome. I love talking to her. I still can't figure out exactly what. Like, it's almost like she moved all over Europe because she sounds like Italian and Israeli and half German sometimes. I'm not sure where she's from, dude.
No,
I want
no,
to say. I want to say
No, you're
Italy,
right.
maybe. Huh?
I thought her. I think her accent sounds more like Eastern European.
You see that there's another one. But it's like I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm really good with accents usually.
Yeah. I usually am, but I can't. Sometimes I think she's Polish. Sometimes I think she's. It almost sounds like she's from Iran or Iraq or that, or you know. Anyway, it's hard to place her accents.
Yeah, I think she has lived in the Middle East for a time. I'm not sure if that but I'm pretty sure I've talked I haven't streamed with her in a long time, but I asked her once and she's really coy about telling you where exactly she's from.
Yeah.
So I mean, she was being very coy, but I mean that's cute. I mean if it was anybody else, I'd be like, fuck that bitch, but Easton, I let her get away. She's hilarious, and her accent fucking knocks me out, man. There's something about chicks with accents. Do Brits think that about American girls, or do you think that about like we hear an Australian girl or a British girl or a girl with an American, a foreign accent? It just like I'm like, oh, that's such a huge turn on. Do Brits think that when they hear accents of other places too?
I don't know actually. But for me, Jacqueline Glenn's accent makes me go a bit wibbly. I'm not gonna lie. I really love her accent.
So
Um,
yeah, I'm sure it's probably preference, but I noticed a lot of guys do think that way about girls with accents. Like, oh man, she sounds fucking, so sexy, that kind of thing.
yeah. And
Yeah.
today, um, I was taking my daughter into the city centre on the bus,
Uh-huh.
and this mum came on with her daughter, and they were talking together in German, and I was really enjoying hearing her speaking German, and then she struck up a conversation with me in English, and I thought, oh no, talking German again. I want to hear you talking German.
Do you understand German at all?
No, but I love hearing it.
Because I can understand bits and pieces if they talk slow and if they speak slowly. My
Oh,
mom was born and raised in Germany and moved here in her 20s. So, I
okay.
mean, I mean, my brother and sister are both fluent in German. I
Oh,
took German in school, but I got kicked out of the class before I could learn much of anything.
oh, I
Um,
see.
and I was a bad boy when I was in high school. So, but that's besides the point. But I can understand some German if they speak slowly enough because I was raised around it. But speak it, forget it, dude. It's like putting a mouthful of rocks, or having a mouthful of rocks and being pissed off at the same time, kind of thing. I don't know. Like Germans sound pissed no matter what they're saying. They could be telling you, I love you, you're gorgeous. It sounds mean. They sound pissed off all the time.
Um, yeah, well, yeah. But I think for me, the men do,
Yeah, the men definitely do. Yeah,
but for me, the women sound hot.
yeah. Well, there are a
I
lot
don't
of
know
hot
why.
Germans. Yeah, I like foreign girls. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm American. Wait, don't foreign girls like Americans? Oh wait, they like cute Americans. Forget about it. Never mind. I'm sunk.
Oh,
I'm sunk, and I'm 40 years old. I'm not in the market for anybody. I got to. I mean, besides her being religious, other than that, I wouldn't trade her for anything. She is truly the coolest woman I've ever met. I mean, she's sweet, caring. The whole believing in Jesus thing, I can let that go. I mean, everybody has some crazy ideas. You
yeah,
know, it is what it is. She
yeah,
asked me the other day, like, she's like, I wanted to ask you this for a long time, but she's like, when you do your atheist channels, your atheist thing on YouTube, she knows I have a channel, and
yeah.
she's like, do you do you bash people? I'm like, I never bash people. I said I might dissect their ideas. I might say their ideas are bad, but I never attack anybody personally. It's only ideas I attack. I'm an attacker of ideas. I'm a pacifist, so I couldn't attack anybody anyway. But that's
Yeah,
besides the point too. So
yeah. I mean, when I do my response videos, um, I try to be as polite as I possibly can, um, to the person, to the person that is their ideas is that I dissect and take apart. Um, there's a Christian.
someone that has the perfect mixture of being like respectful and funny is John, or I'm sorry, Goddess Engineer. But he
Oh
is
yeah,
like, that guy has the patience of a fucking saint, man.
yeah,
For real. Like, I can't believe some of the shit he. Sometimes, I mean, but he's respectful for the most part. I mean, if you're being serious and not like, talking shit to him or whatnot, he is a very, very respectful person. Very, very respectful. I mean, but if you go across that line, I'm sure he can unload on you and make you feel like, whoops, I made a mistake.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I really think he has that mixture down of respect and being funny together. You know,
he comes across that way. I'd love to have him on my channel actually, but
he said, I'm sure. You know what, dude? I bet you, I could ask him. But frustrated asked him yesterday. Frustrated atheist, and his channel's not very big either.
hmm,
John really enjoys helping out the smaller channels. I mean, I don't think he'd have a problem with getting him on. To be honest
yeah,
with you.
yeah. That'd be really.
or
But
or or a collab or something.
yeah, but I wouldn't want him on just for the sake of having him on. If you see what I mean, I'd have to
Yeah,
be
yeah, or like an interview
going
or
somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or a collab video or something like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because I want to branch out and start doing collab videos with people too. But I'm not my I finally found an editor I can actually use, so I can start making more than just live streams. But I'm gonna kind of I'm gonna do a few response videos, but I think I'm gonna stick to more of the historical angle of things because I'm a history buff, so I think that'd be the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to do what you're comfortable with. Well, um,
right.
yeah.
Oh, I can be a snarky asshole and make a response video. Trust me, I know how to do that too. But I really enjoy history, so let's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something a little bit different. Not everybody uses the history angle when it comes to the atheism videos. I mean, there's religion for breakfast, and I'm not even really sure if that guy what he is. I don't know if he's just like I think he's a religious study student of some kind or another, or maybe like a historian student. Do you know who Religion for Breakfast is? You ever heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of him.
Oh, check out that channel. It's he makes really, really cool videos. Um, Ancient religions. He does mostly ancient stuff. So I want to say, I think he's going for a PhD in some kind of a ancient, ancient. I don't know, historian or what. I have no idea what his qualifications are, but his videos are really good. It's Religion for Breakfast. Check it out sometime.
Yeah, will do.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Hmm.
So so what made you start making videos then?
Yeah. Well, I first started my channel um as a vlog about mental health.
Uh huh.
Um, and then I started talking about autism as well,
Right.
because I am autistic, and so it's a subject that's close to my heart, and I I wasn't going to talk about atheistic related topics because I thought, well, there's a lot of people doing that already. But then I started seeing, quite a lot of um, Christian videos coming up on in my YouTube timeline for whatever reason, and I started watching them, and I thought, this is really stupid. I can't keep silent. I've got to respond somehow, and I resisted, doing that for a while. But then I started, I started to think, well, I've got a unique voice to bring to the discussion,
Right.
and and
Not many. I can't say many atheists have been to seminary school besides maybe you and the Goddess Island
yeah, uh,
that I can think, that I know of anyway. I mean, I'm like one of the very small percentage of people that have just been. I've been an atheist my whole life. I've never really, I mean, yeah, my parents called me a Catholic, but I mean, that's about as close as I came to being anything, was just being called. I mean, we weren't even C&E Christians, not but Christmas and Easter, we weren't
yeah,
even that. So I was pretty much left to my own devices my whole life.
yeah.
Yeah. So I come from a very, very small percentage of people.
Hmm. Uh,
So
and
you started seeing these crazy Christian videos and you're like, no, I gotta rebut that. This is just too stupid. I can't deal with it.
yeah, yeah, and yeah. So I did my first one. I did my first response video on this video called Heaven or Hell. I think it was called, and it was just so asinine. Um, I thought, I can't let this slide. I've got to, and the response I got from my first ever response videos was amazing. And I thought, well, maybe perhaps I'll do another one, and
Right.
and it just grew from there, I guess.
Yeah. So, how do you see your channel growing? I mean, are you just gonna let it grow organically, or are you gonna stick to the ACS thing and add autistic and mental awareness stuff in with it? Then,
Yeah, I think I've settled on the three topics that I've settled on for Black Sofa is atheism, mental health awareness, and autism awareness.
which all need to be talked about. I mean, it's they're not always easy things to talk about. Like, I also want to start talking more about recovery, drug addiction and recovery for atheists a little bit more on my channel. That's not a pretty subject, but it is something that needs to be talked about, and it
Okay.
is something that you know I think 12-step programs turn a lot of atheists away because they hear that God thing and it just fucking fucks them up. So
Yeah,
maybe if I can help one or two people, then that's better than nothing.
yeah. There needs to be more secular programs.
Yeah, there's AA Agnostica. I listen to a lot of that because I mean it's just common sense things that a drug addict wouldn't think to do. I mean, like I said, we're wired differently. We're very selfish, and we think pretty much, well, what can you do for me? That's how we think when it comes to everything. We need to train ourselves to be selfless and start helping other people. And that's what will keep us sober, is helping other people. And I'll I'll agree with that until the day I die. I'm
Yeah,
sorry if the interview, well, it was impromptu. I mean, yeah, you just agreed yesterday or whatnot, and then so usually I do a little bit more research into the interviews I'm going to do. So I would like to ask you if you'd like to come back on maybe in a few months. That way it'll give your channel a chance to grow some more as well.
Yeah.
and give me a little more insight into, you know, how, well, I could come up with better questions. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still had fun. Don't get me wrong. I had a great time, but I just want. I mean, I know my questions seemed a little impromptu because they were kind of impromptu.
Well, you did a good job of disguising it.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And I'd love to come on your channel, and anytime.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
you know, anytime I'm having a stream, you're welcome to come on and bullshit. You know, I mean, if we're talking about something that, if you happen to be watching, is something you have something you could add to it, you know, shoot me a message in DM or say, yo, send me a link, you know, in the chat or whatever. And
yeah, yeah,
I'd be more than happy to. So,
that'd be
um,
awesome.
and I think also we're gonna be competing against another freaking atheist. I think he's just starting an interview. So why don't we hop off of here and go support another one of our atheist buddies? What
Yeah.
does everybody think of that? All right. Well, thank you guys all for coming. Thank you, Black Sofa. And I guess I'll see you. I'm stopping the broadcast now. Bye, bye, guys.